You ever fall in love with a girl, think she's the one, and then a week later she breaks your heart? That's the NFL. Welcome back to the Green Means Go channel. It's your host, me. An exciting week this week in the NFL. I don't know if that's the word. If you like upsets, it certainly was exciting. We will go ahead and start with the Arizona Cardinals, who technically upset the Atlanta Falcons, although if you know what I've been saying the last few weeks, that is no upset. However, I don't think it's going to be enough, even with Kyler Murray's return, to win 6 games. I will say it for the third week in a row. Turn your volume all the way up on your phone or computer or iPad, however you are viewing this YouTube video. The Atlanta Falcons have the easiest schedule in the National Football League, and that is not an opinion. That is metric-backed, that is statistic-backed, and they don't win games. This is a pathetic football team who has no reason to ever in 2023 be in a playoff conversation. Arthur Smith, I don't know what he's doing. He needs to polish up his resume. He needs to head down to his local Dunkin' Donuts and apply for a job because NFL coach is not his career. However, this schedule is way too easy for them not to win 2 more games, so 6-11 for the Falcons, but I don't want to talk about the Falcons ever again this season. The Ravens blow out the Detroit Lions and the Seattle Seahawks at home, and I thought, the Browns are coming. They'll do the same. And that was not the case at all. The Browns beat them outright. However, this AFC North is incredibly stacked, but I do think the Ravens will come out ahead and come out in first in this division. The Bills have some serious problems, serious questions. They are no longer in comfy playoffs, especially with how this AFC North is shaping out. I do think Miami is going to take that division now, given what we saw on Monday night. Josh Allen is being forced to do too much. They were able to run the ball in that game, and what did? They decided not to run the ball in that game. Josh Allen was throwing 90-mile-an-hour fastballs to his receivers who couldn't catch. Penalty after penalty, mistake after mistake. Be worried about the Buffalo Bills. The Bears should get Justin Fields back this week. I don't think it matters. Wins the draft. I think the Panthers should make a legitimate push for Marvin Harrison Jr. Last week, I had rumblings of the Bengals in the Super Bowl. And this week, they're in last. I'll say that again. They are in last in the AFC North. They are in last place behind the Browns and the Steelers in the AFC North. I'm going to put all of these teams in comfy playoffs. I know that's statistically impossible, but I am sick of trying to decide what to do with this NFC North after the fact that last week I said, I feel pretty good about this AFC North now. I'm a fool. The Browns could easily take a wild card spot, comfy playoffs. Dallas is a really good team against bad opponents at home. Now, we saw them go on the road to Philadelphia and compete. I do think they have enough in the tank to take a wild card spot in the NFC. With a win in Buffalo, the Broncos may get to 6 this year. Detroit only has a 1-game lead on the Kirk Cousin, Justin Jefferson-less Minnesota Vikings. Joshua Dobbs is doing great things for this team out of nowhere. I do think that with their excellent performance offensively against the Chargers this week, they should do what they need to do to take the NFC North, but the Vikings are right on their heels. Every week it feels so good to say that I was right about the Packers at the beginning of the season. They're 3 games away from winning 6. Wins the draft for the Packers. Let's talk about Houston a little bit. Goes into Cincinnati and wins the game. C.J. Stroud is playing like a top 10 quarterback right now. Jacksonville is still leading the division, but the Texans have already beat them once, and they'll get Jacksonville at home in a few weeks. I really think they're looking good enough that I can put the Houston Texans in the comfy playoff category. The Colts are 5-5, but I do not think they're going to surpass the Texans or the Jags. So, I'll put them in the category just because I think 6 obviously is pretty attainable. We'll see. I think the Jaguars still win the division outright, although they got beat down pretty badly by the Niners. I wish they could have competed a little more in that game. It may have given me more confidence in putting them in comfy playoffs. But between them and the Texans, I think they grab a spot. The AFC wild card playoff picture is just too crowded, and I'm going to have to say that loss to the Lions was massive in killing the Chargers' playoff hopes. I'll put them in the category. The Raiders are in second place in the AFC West. If the season ended right now, the Minnesota Vikings would be in the playoffs. I'll say that again. No, I won't. For the Minnesota Vikings. As long as Joshua Dobbs keeps doing his thing. Wins the draft for this horrible, horrible Patriots team. The Saints did lose to the Vikings, but I just can't see a path for them to lose the division. Although Derek Carr is injured, it doesn't look to be serious. Actually, I'm going to slow my roll in this NFC South. For the Saints. Wins the draft for the Giants. There is a path for the Jets to grab a wild card spot, although I think the chances are slim. However, they've won 4. I think they can get 2 more. For the Jets. The Steelers. Another AFC North team. Like I said, I'm going to put them all in comfy playoffs. I know that is statistically not impossible, but it's pretty near impossible that they all 3 grab a wild card spot. But right now, I have to respect them all. Gosh, this list is so weird. The Seahawks schedule is about to get difficult, and they struggled to beat the Commanders in Seattle. I'm going to move them down to the category because the trouble is ahead. The Niners got a much-needed win against a quality opponent in Jacksonville, and they looked dominant yet again, so give me comfy playoffs for the Niners. Tampa Bay is technically only 1 game back in the NFC South. 1 game back. A team that just loses. Although they did win this week against the Titans, I guess I'll put them in the category. Titans are 3-6 at this point. I think their ceiling is 6-11. I'll go ahead and throw them there and say they'll win half of their remaining games. It may be too optimistic. Washington will probably win 2 more games and end the season 6-11. Taking a look at our movers, shakers, and money makers, the changes from last week. Right now, the Eagles are the only team that I feel confident talking about in a Super Bowl conversation, so we see no change there. As for comfy playoffs, I do think that the Chiefs, the Dolphins, the Bengals, the Cowboys, the Lions, and the Niners all have a pretty solid chance to make the playoffs. Moving up and joining this category from the category are the Browns and the Steelers. Out of respect, I realize that is statistically unlikely. And also the Texans. It's time that we start keeping an eye on the Texans as maybe a wild card team and potentially a team that could win this AFC South. If we look at teams moving down from Super Bowl conversation, yes, the Ravens' loss did hurt them to a divisional opponent. And had the Jaguars competed against the Niners, maybe I could have kept them there, but they got blown out and they looked bad. So we'll move them down. As for the category, the Bills should be worried. The Chargers should be worried. The Vikings are an optimistic whereas the other 2 are not. Moving into this category from 6-11 are the Colts, the Raiders, the Jets, and the Buccaneers. I wouldn't be surprised if one of these teams makes it to the playoffs, but I don't see a way that 2 of those teams make it in. And moving down, we have the Saints, who should be worried with the Buccaneers on their heels, and the Seahawks, who just have a brutal schedule upcoming. As for 6-11, no tremendous changes here. We have the Rams, the Falcons, the Titans, and the Commanders all staying put. But I do think the Broncos have a chance to win a few more games and get to 6-11. Wins the draft has been the most consistent category all season, but moving down, welcome to the club, Green Bay Packers. You're horrible. Thank you all again for coming by and watching this. If you're still watching and you're interested in me doing an NBA version of this, maybe once a week, leave a comment, okay? Say NBA, please, something like that. I'm considering it, all right? My time is somewhat limited, but if that is something that people would be interested in watching, I'd be happy to do that. So let me know in the comments. I appreciate everything you guys are doing and supporting me. We'll see you next time.